Republicans are feeling the heat with the growing backlash against AI data centers. For the past several years, many politicians have promoted AI data centers while supporting massive tax breaks to encourage development. In doing so, they completely ignored obvious risks, such as pressure on the electric grid and pressure on electricity bills. But something has changed. Ordinary citizens are fed up, and politicians are feeling the heat, particularly Republicans. Voters in Ohio, Texas, and hundreds of communities around the country are pushing back on spiking electric bills and all of the other problems that come with data centers. They're also asking, why are some of the richest companies in the world getting massive tax breaks? And you know this backlash is getting serious when politicians who were some of the biggest supporters of the data center boom suddenly start sounding like populist critics of big tech. Let's start here in Ohio with Republican candidate for governor Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek has been one of the biggest cheerleaders for bringing AI investment into Ohio, and he wasn't subtle about it. In 2025, while discussing the surge of AI data centers coming to the state, Vivek repeatedly described the boom as a good thing. And the Democratic candidate for governor, Amy Acton, is hammering him for it. At one appearance, he said, "The AI data center boom is good for our region." At another, he said, "We've got AI data centers moving to our state. That's a good thing. It's a good thing." And perhaps the clearest quote of all came when he talked about making it easier to build major projects in Ohio. He referred to AI data centers and Bitcoin mining operations and said, "All of which I want in the state, by the way." Here's a clip her campaign has been circulating.
We have an AI data center boom in the state of Ohio, which is great. I'm all for it. I'm strongly in favor of it.
We've got AI data centers moving to our state. That's a good thing. It's a good thing. And in our own state here, we've got an AI data center boom, which is great. That's coming. A demand surge with AI data centers moving to our state. That part's good. We now have a boom of AI data centers moving into our state. That's a good thing.
There really isn't much ambiguity there. Vivek wanted the data centers. Vivek also recognized from the beginning that these facilities were going to create enormous demand for electricity. He talked openly about the strain they would place on Ohio's grid, so he knew about the problem, yet still pushed for more development and more tax breaks, with zero protections, of course, for ordinary citizens. Then the politics changed. Communities started pushing back. Electricity prices became a bigger issue. Tax breaks became harder to defend. And Democratic candidate Amy Acton started hammering Vivek with videos of his own statements, praising the data center boom. And suddenly, we got a very different Vivek. His new Ohioans First data center plan would require much tougher conditions on these projects. He wants new data centers to pay full property taxes. He wants surrounding communities to receive direct benefits. He has even proposed effectively providing free electricity to residents living near these facilities. And he has called for stopping new approvals until protections are put in place. Vivek himself recently gave away just how much the politics have changed. Responding to criticism that he had been a cheerleader for data centers, he said, "This is politics, and I think our opponents have had some success in trying to paint me that way." That quote is remarkable because he's essentially acknowledging that the political attack is working. His original position was subsidized capitalism by giving massive technology companies tax incentives. Now that voters are angry, he's suddenly a populist demanding that those same companies pay taxes and subsidize homeowners' electricity. You know, the data center backlash has become politically dangerous when a free market tech entrepreneur like Vivek starts proposing policies that sound like they came from Elizabeth Warren. And Ohio isn't an isolated example. Look at Texas. For years, Texas has aggressively marketed itself as the place to build, and Governor Greg Abbott has enthusiastically promoted the state as a destination for technology investment. But Texas has also become one of the epicenters of the data center boom. And now Abbott is changing course too. He has begun pushing for tougher restrictions on data centers, questioning incentives, and arguing that these facilities need to shoulder more of the costs they impose on the electric grid. And most dramatically, Texas has now paused new data center grid approvals while the state evaluates what all of this new demand is doing to its energy system. Think about that. This is Texas. Greg Abbott is one of the most aggressively pro-business governors in America, and even he is effectively saying, we need to slow this down and figure out what it's doing to our electricity system. Why? Because voters are seeing enormous corporations receiving incentives to build massive industrial facilities that consume staggering amounts of electricity. It's clear that Silicon Valley and many political leaders badly underestimated how voters would react to all of this. They're asking tough questions about electricity rates, water usage, and noise pollution. Once AI becomes physical infrastructure in somebody's backyard, the politics change dramatically. You now have progressive Democrats attacking data centers over corporate subsidies, environmental impacts, and utility costs. And at the same time, you have conservative voters worried about farmland, electricity prices, property rights, and massive corporations receiving special treatment. Those groups may disagree about almost everything else, but they're starting to ask the same question. Why should we bear the costs of the AI boom while some of the richest companies in the world collect the benefits? I don't think this means America should stop building AI infrastructure. Quite the opposite. AI is going to be strategically and economically critical. The United States needs the computing capacity and the energy infrastructure necessary to compete, especially with China. But the industry may have to accept a new political reality. Greed isn't going to cut it. At a minimum, the tax breaks have to end, but we should be exploring additional taxes on these data centers, along with real plans to address all of the issues they create and the other costs being absorbed by ordinary citizens. Communities are right to demand something in return, and politicians are figuring that out very quickly. When Ramaswamy goes from saying the data center boom is a good thing to demanding that big tech subsidize residents' electricity, and when Greg Abbott starts putting the brakes on new data center connections in Texas, you know the politics have changed. The AI boom may continue, but increasingly, voters are going to demand that the people building it answer one very simple question: what's in this for us?